Welcome to a John Legg fragrance review. Okay, first things first, I really enjoy your company. You're very welcome at this channel. It's a little bit of fun, it's a hobby, don't take it too seriously, it's just a few thoughts, a few ideas about fragrance. Okay, so I would be very grateful if you'd do the thumbs up, and if you'd like to subscribe, that would be awesome. Thank you very much. Right. This fragrance is a really, really important fragrance. It's a really difficult one to describe. Now, you know, I said recently in the last review that I was trying to get more professional, trying to use things like adjectives and that sort of thing. Well, I really messed up on the last one because every time I was thinking of the description for the previous review, I had a guy called Hussein Bolt in my head, but every time I went to say Hussein Bolt, I said Mo Farah. So, you know, I got it terribly wrong. So I apologise for any confusion caused there. I can't make this mistake again. I can't make any mistakes because this fragrance is completely unforgiving. It really is. Okay, it's in my top three, and the reason why it's in my top three is because of its sheer power, its sheer authority, and its sheer okay. If you've seen the film Titanic, which I think pretty much everyone's seen the film Titanic, you know, right at the end when the old girl is singing that song about things going on forever and ever, obviously, you know, you think it's talking about the love of these two people. One's going to die, one's going to survive. I actually think the song was about this fragrance because it does. It seriously goes on forever and ever. Right. All right. Let me tell you how strong it is. I put some on. I'd been on a car journey and then I hadn't used the car for a couple of days. I got in the car and after about 10 minutes I thought, that's weird. I can smell this fragrance. It's not what I've got on today. And you know what? It must have just, as the seatbelt came across me, it must have just caught a little bit of this fragrance. And just as I warmed that seatbelt up, it was still there. I've also had the situation, it doesn't come out of clothes, right? You put your clothes in the wash, you get them out, and it's still there. Okay, now, there's a fragrance house called Amouage, right? They put out incredible fragrances. Every single one is a powerhouse. Now, what do I mean by a powerhouse? Now, a powerhouse is a fragrance that really makes itself known. You know, it doesn't sit close to you, it projects. It fills the room or the area that you're in, and it pretty much lasts all day. You don't have to top this one up. Really don't have to top this one up. Right. They've probably got, I don't know, 25, 30 different fragrances. They do some unisex and they do some which are specifically for men. This one is very specifically for men, okay? But I have to be honest. Okay, okay, there's maybe three things that go against this fragrance. First of all, it's a three-figure price. Now this, for 100ml, will set you back, and this is going to hurt me to say, around about £250 to £260. Okay, it's an absolute tearjerker. That's the first thing that goes against it. The second thing that goes against it is the fact that realistically, it's a very niche sort of fragrance. You know, it's not particularly a crowd pleaser. It's not a Bleu de Chanel sort of thing. It's not a Sauvage. It's not something that people would just automatically warm to and go, you know what, he smells great. The third thing that goes against it is it's not overly versatile, right? I think you'd annoy people if you wore it in the summer. It's really, now I don't normally say things are cold weather or hot weather. This really is just a cold weather scent because it's, well, when I explain more to you, you'll understand why. It's really not a summer or a hot weather fragrance. It's the cold months fragrance. I call it the Blue Bomb, and you'll understand why in a minute. Right, so there it is. Amazing bottle, amouage, and it's called Interlude Man. I say they do some unisex and they do some which are specifically men. A woman couldn't wear this realistically. It is for men. Okay? Yeah, it's got a lovely magnetic cap, but then to be fair, we don't talk about the bottle or the packaging. I sometimes wish that they would reduce the price of these things and perhaps just put it in a more plain bottle and just a little white box to protect it would be fine. But no, the box is amazing and the bottle's awesome and that lot. But okay, so I'm going to try and be really professional and try and explain this to you. Right, I've got several ways of explaining this. My first way is to explain that it's like the love of a good woman, but without all the mess. Okay, all right. Let's try and explain it in a better way. Now, people who know me know that I love my trance music. I love my trance mix. This is a bit like if you were to get someone like Armin van Buuren, who's possibly the most legendary trance DJ out there, liquidate him, put him in a bottle. This is a bottle of Armin van Buuren because the way he does it, he is a DJ and he is an artist. You know, he'll do a set, maybe a 3, 4, 5 hour set, and you never get bored because it's constantly, it's the highs, it's the lows, it's the mixing, the perfect mix, the perfect blend, and he puts some vocals and some just ordinary musical stuff. And he does a legendary mix. Now this is a legendary mix. You will never ever get bored with this fragrance. Now let's just spray it. Breathe deep. And to be fair, you don't need much of a spray. Okay, I'll put my nose too close to that then. Wow. Right. Let me just recover. Right. Straight off the sprayer, this is like someone has got a jet wash and sprayed it up your nose. It really is strong. Okay? This fragrance never gives up. That will be there. In fact, you can almost see the shininess because they use a lot of oils. You know, there's obviously some synthetic stuff in there, but there's a lot of fragrance oils in this. I mean, you're paying for it, and it should be a very oily fragrance. I can see the shine on my arm, and that, it is absolutely amazing. Right, now let me try and describe this in a really professional way. Right, if you were to go and steal a Hindu temple and then joyride it through the streets, okay, and as you're sort of racing along, the police catch up with you and there's blue flashing lights and it's a bit of a chase, and then at some point a bit later in the chase, you end up losing control of it on the corner and it rolls over and you end up going down an embankment and crash into a forest. Okay, that's the most professional way I can describe this because it's almost spiritual. This is, you know, it's not one of those fragrances that people are just going to go, smells good. They're going to stop, they're going to think about it because there's a heavy incense. There's frankincense, there's probably a bit of myrrh in there. There's that heavy ritualistic, ritualistic incense. Okay? So that's your Hindu temple. You know, that smell of the sort of ritual incensey stuff. And as you're joyriding it down the streets, if you could nick a Hindu temple, it's slopping everywhere, it's going everywhere, and you're going to get that massive vibe of the incense. There's also in there's some woods which give it a tiny little bit of sweetness, but realistically this is not a sweet fragrance. It's really earthy, okay? Right, I hope I've described it in a very professional way and I hope you understand it. Right, could a teenager wear this? A, I don't think a teenager would have that disposable cash, and B, no, it's not a teenage fragrance. I think you'd have to be 30 plus to wear this, okay? It has a massive presence. You walk into the room even 5 hours after you've applied it, and it will fill that room. Now, I've had 3 very interesting reactions. Let's just go through them. The first reaction was, and I didn't like this reaction, someone said, "Leggy, it smells like you got one of those air fresheners on." And I was like, what? The money I've spent and you think it's a plug-in air freshener? Okay, I overcame that because obviously he was an uneducated heathen. The second reaction, a guy came up to me and he went, and he gave me a hug. Okay? He's a good friend of mine, so don't worry about that. He absolutely loved it. The third reaction, I'd got it on, I was at work, I was tapping away on my keyboard, and one of the girls came through, stood behind me, and she stopped and she went, "Who's smoking weed?" And I was like, okay, there is an element of that sweet sort of weed sort of smell, okay? But I'll tell you what, the amazing thing about this fragrance, because it's like that transmix, it's that ultimate blend. There's no gaps between the different ingredients. It's a complete blend. But you know, every time you smell it, you get something different. One minute you get the heavy incense, next minute you get the woods, next minute you get a tiny little bit of citrus. And you know what? It realistically, I would describe it as completely unpredictable as to what you're actually going to smell. I mean, as I've been talking to you now, I'm just going through the different motions and I keep getting different little bits, and it excites you because it is just so different every time. And I'll tell you something else, every time you apply it, that initial blast is different. Now, that's not because it's not well mixed in the bottle at all. That's because it is the work of a master craftsman. And you know what? Is it worth £250, £260? If you've got that disposable income, I would say yes. And you know what? I don't know of any clones of this. It really is unique. Nobody else can copy it. And if you seriously want a fragrance that you don't have to reapply, and it's a room filler, and even if you're outdoors, say you're walking down the street, you walk past down the street and you suddenly see people's heads turn because they've caught a whiff of this very bizarre fragrance. I say it's not a crowd pleaser, it's not a sauvage, it's not a blood de Chanel, it is way out there. And you have to be quite confident to wear it. Personally, I'm a massive fan. It is in my top 3, not because of its versatility, because it doesn't have that, but because of its sheer power and authority. Okay, I hope I've been a little bit more professional, and I hope I've been a little bit more accurate in this, and I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I really hope that you'll give me a thumbs up, maybe a subscription, and I hope I'll see you again for the next one. So take care, stay safe, and see you soon. Goodbye.